Welcome back to Courtroom Authority. Today, we've got a wild one. A young driver who thought flipping off a cop was a good idea until it landed him right here in front of the judge. This case takes place in Watson Township, where Mr. Webb faces two citations, one for speeding and another for failing to yield to an emergency vehicle. But here's where it gets spicy. He's claiming the cop was targeting him after he made that offensive gesture. Yep, you heard that right. He literally admits to flipping off the officer and now says he's the victim of bias. As the judge takes control, watch how he balances humor, discipline, and law to cut through the drama. By the end, you'll see whether this driver's story holds up, or if his bad attitude cost him more than a ticket. Before we dive deeper, what do you think? Should disrespecting an officer change how your case is handled, or should the law stay neutral no matter what? Comment below and let's hear your verdict.
All right, gentlemen, we are here on citations that were issued on February 24 of this year on 19th Street there, Watson Township. This is for too fast for conditions as well as failure to yield to emergency vehicle. These are civil infractions, Mr. Webb. You have a choice of what to do on them. You can, one, admit responsibility to a citation, or two, admit responsibility, but you'd like to provide some sort of explanation as to how or why this happened. Or three, you wish to contest the citation, in other words, to fight a ticket at what we call informal hearing. What were you looking to do?
I would like to contest this ticket.
Both?
Both
Moving
of them.
violations?
Yes.
All right. Then, even though I cannot see you, I'd ask you to raise your right hand, same way the deputy's going to raise his right hand. You swear or affirm any testimony that you'd give here today would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Webb, it makes a lot more sense for me to start with the deputy. He has the burden to establish to me why you were issued these citations in the first place. But then after that, you'll have an opportunity to either ask questions or testify on your own behalf. All right?
Okay.
And with that, Deputy, you want to pick up the narrative somewhere it makes sense? Explain the issuing of this citation.
Conducting routine patrol in Watson Township. I was traveling westbound on 116th Avenue. I observed the defendant's vehicle driving directly ahead of me. While driving behind that vehicle, I paced it at 58 miles per hour for approximately 3 miles. Upon activation of my emergency lights, the vehicle continued driving for approximately a quarter mile before turning left onto 19th Street and coming to a stop. At that point, I made contact with the defendant, explained the reason of the stop, and issued the citation.
All right, Mr. Webb, what is it you wish to tell me?
I guess I'll just tell my story. I was on my way back from school because I forgot that it was spring break. When I got onto 222, I saw Mr. Kibbe sitting in like the little construction area across from the gas station. That's when I decided to flip him off. This obviously made Mr. Kibbe upset, prompting him to pull out behind me and begin following me for a few miles until I reached a downslope. I had my cruise control set at 57. So as soon as I hit that bottom of that downslope, my car accelerated a little bit, supposedly 1 mile an hour. And this is when Mr. Kibbe turned on his lights, and it was very obvious that he was targeting me. So I instantly, right away, started slowing down and decided that turning off to the left was going to be my best case scenario because it was going to put Officer Kibbe out of the main road, which I know is one of the leading causes of death for officers.
And, Deputy, what is the speed limit on this road?
55 miles per hour.
All right. So the too fast for conditions is the 58?
Correct.
And the failure to yield to emergency vehicle is the driving for a quarter mile before he pulled over?
Correct. Your Honor, my understanding of the failing to yield for an emergency vehicle moving is that they have to pull immediately to the parallel to the road they're currently on. And in the event that I was heading to an emergency, he would have been impeding me by turning left across both lanes where I couldn't pass him.
Okay. Gentlemen, Mr. Webb, you know how dumb it is to needlessly upset law enforcement, right?
Yes, yes, I know that.
Because they have certain powers that they can exercise over your life and make your life difficult. It was a dumb thing to do.
Yes, and I have
All right.
stopped since then.
All right. Here's the problem. Violation of basic speed law, too fast for conditions, is essentially, that's the wrong citation. You could have wrote him a citation for 1 to 5 over, and that's what he'd be looking at. But the violation of basic speed law is essentially when you have a slide off or something like that, you were going too fast for conditions. And that having the accident is the prima facie evidence that you should have been driving slower to sort of, avoid that happening, as opposed to just essentially a speeding ticket, meaning nothing happened with your vehicle, but a moving violation that you were in fact going faster than posted speed limit. So this could have been a faster than posted speed limit ticket, but the way it's written, a violation of basic speed law, we reserve that for a failure to maintain to your vehicle to stop a clear and assured distance before you hit something else or before you leave the roadway. The other problem is the failure to yield to emergency vehicle is this. Once an officer is trying to pull you over and it's obvious to you or reasonable to an objective person that the officer is trying to pull them over, i.e. lights and sirens, and there's nobody else but you, then you know that they're trying to pull you over. The issue with that is you do have the right to. Now, I'll tell you right now, if you just speed up and drive away, this turns very quickly into what's called fleeing and eluding, which is a felony crime, right? But if the officer's trying to pull you over, you are able to drive to a place that you feel is more conducive to a safe stop. A lot of times what that means, gentlemen, I'm just explaining to you this so you understand this. A lot of time what that means is, oh, it was late at night, it's a country road in the middle of nowhere, and I know there's a gas station, a quarter mile up the road. So I, put my blinkers on, or I drove 35 miles an hour, but I drove all the way to the gas station because I'd rather have this interaction take place in the lighted parking lot, or something like what Mr. Webb is explaining, that 222 is a lot busier than, say, pulling off to a lesser used road. So provided the fact that you only went a quarter mile is the sort of saving grace here, and that you did pull over, but the way that you explained it, there is what I would say a grace period there for pulling over, as long as what you're doing is pulling over to what you consider to be a safer, either for you or for the officer. The way you articulated it, really, you articulated it for the officer, but it's allowed to be for your safety. But that is not necessarily what this statute, failure to yield to emergency vehicle, is written for. That would be essentially, more often what that is not listening to the officer, not a delay in listening to the officer. The delay of listening to officer is a little more subjective, i.e. I get to listen to it, but it's my interpretation here, or my understanding, that you drove at the speeds you were normally driving to go a quarter mile down the road, turn left, and then pull over, sort of right away once you got off the busier road. I wouldn't find either of these two actions to be violations of the statutes that you were written for. But like I said, gentlemen, it's pretty clear here, Mr. Webb, what you did. You used really bad judgment that normally is going to end up costing you money, right? And costing you points on your driver's license, because it's just a dumb thing to do. Don't do it again.
Okay.
All right. But I would not find you responsible on these citations as they're written. We're all set with this today, gentlemen. So
all right. Thank
let's
you.
go our separate ways and think twice about how we carry ourselves in the world, all right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Now, this is where Judge Middleton's experience shines. He starts breaking down the technicalities, and it's honestly fascinating. Too fast for conditions? That's not just another speeding ticket. It's a charge usually reserved for when a driver loses control or causes an accident. Since Mr. Webb didn't crash, the judge points out that this citation doesn't quite fit. Then there's the failure to yield charge. The deputy argues that Webb didn't immediately pull over when lights came on, but the judge explains something crucial. Drivers actually have a right to pull over in a safe location. The key word is safe. And in this case, Webb only drove a quarter mile to get off a busy road. That's reasonable. It's a perfect example of how judges interpret laws with common sense, not just the letter of the law. And just when you think he'll go easy, Judge Middleton still drops a dose of reality. Don't ever provoke the police again. They have the power to make your life difficult. A lesson every driver should take seriously. So what do you think? Was the judge too forgiving here? Or did he make the right call by focusing on the legal details over attitude? If you found this case as surprising as we did, make sure to hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Courtroom Authority for more jaw-dropping real courtroom moments every week.